When I experienced the first, I would say, foreshadowing of my Saturn return, it was in 2022 already. I had just gotten out of a 8-year-long relationship. I also came to the realization that what I had been doing job-wise, what I had studied and what I had worked in, was not working for me at all. So I completely did a 180-degree turn. What I have noticed is with Pisces, let's look at the sign Pisces, right? What is it standing for? What is its archetype? Pisces is standing for the dreamer, you know, the fish. So it's about the water, the unseen. You know, it is often associated with art and poetry, movies, like this kind of world that is like a world we can't fully touch, we can't fully reach, but it's there, and it's about emotions, about feelings, right? That's what water is about, it's flowing. Yeah, also about dreaming. The dreamscape, dream world can be something we can't quite access, but it's still part of reality in a way. So that's what you're looking at with Pisces. And Saturn is a sign that also has an archetype, and it's more about the father, kind of like as a role. It doesn't have to be a father in and of itself, but like those qualities. It's about maybe sometimes tough learning, it's about structure, it's about rules and regulations, about working hard for things to earn your efforts, determination, those kind of things. Now, when Saturn, this kind of like a more tough, determined, I would even say business type of sign, comes into the dreamy, watery world of Pisces, and that's where its domain is, you're naturally gonna have some struggles, because those are you know, it's not a natural mix, not like Saturn and Capricorn. I'm not saying that this is easier, but like, you know, it's quite a mix. So what I have noticed in this period is my dreams have gotten more intense. I've always been a dreamer, like I've always had a lot of dreams at night, but now I dream like every night, and more often I have these dreams that feel really real and that are showing me fears, that are showing me things I need to work on, and are giving me a lot of feedback about what's going on in my psyche in like a more symbolical way. So I have noticed that, and especially in the beginning when Saturn moved into Pisces, those dreams could be so much that I would wake up and I could still feel them, and if those were sad dreams, like the beginning of my day would be tinted, you know, I would feel sad, and it just everything emotion-wise felt really real. Something else that I have noticed is that there's like a conflict going on with father-like authorities that are kind of like really strict and have this thing going on of like my way or the highway. This is how it's done, that's the right way how it's done. Suddenly, because I chose this new career, I was the learner again. So I was not the one just doing my work, but I entered into a new career and I had to learn again. So I was confronted again with teachers. And yeah, suddenly I realized like that I had a strong issue with these types of teachers. And also with the way schooling is done, like you have to do it this way and in this order. You know, not as much freedom as I used to have. And I think that is an issue, especially if you have the sign of Pisces, at least for me, that I realized I'm much more productive when I give myself space and the freedom to carry out tasks in a more intuitive way, like when I feel ready to do them. And I got really aware of this, and this is a conflict I'm battling with a lot, and I think it's partly also due to my upbringing, that this was the way my father was, you know. in a way. This is just how it's done. Conflicts like that you had with your father and your upbringing, like his kind of education style, his kind of parenting style is now being reflected left and right through authority figures. For example, can also be reflected through certain institutions of power, or just certain life circumstances. I feel that this conflict is being reflected to me and is saying, do your inner work on this, do your shadow work. Look at that. Also, something that I have noticed is I always thought that I listened to my intuition a lot, but my intuition is currently really clear and it's telling me certain things, and I just can't do it because I'm afraid. It's funny. So that is something that's also coming up with me, with Pisces, the dreamer, intuition, being tapped into those things, that suddenly I realize how I want things to be clear and defined, and I want a clear outcome. There is a huge portion of risk involved. I can't really trust my intuition. And that is really un-Pisces-like, and I feel like that is something that I need to master and that I need to learn, is to trust my intuition and to say, okay, this is fucking scary. Confronting real fears that I have that are so all-consuming. I trust that my intuition will guide me and will lead me. Easier said than done. But that's something that I have noticed, is where Saturn just wants to be I want the clear outcomes. Then on a more positive note, something that I've noticed about the generation, my generation, Saturn and Pisces, they are much more than just my generation. That is, let me see, from January 28th, 1994 to April 7th, 1996. But there are more waves. There was also a Saturn and Pisces, May 21st, 1993 to June 30th, 1993. But at least what I noticed about my immediate generation is that we are really compassionate and really empathetic. Not all people, of course, not all people from a generation can be the same, but there's a general blueprint of empathy and compassion going on. And I would say, and I even remember teachers saying about people born in my year, 1995 and also 1994, that we were a good generation. I remember this, several teachers saying that, and also several employers back in the day when we were starting our first jobs. I do think that that's a strength that will help us to also cultivate, hopefully, compassion for ourselves. Who am I to tell? I'm not even halfway through this whole thing. But yeah, I already felt like sharing a video on this because I can clearly see certain things going on. Yes, and then I want to come to a really positive note. This YouTube channel here, I started it in my Saturn return. And now that I'm talking about it, I just realized this while filming. This fits perfectly. Saturn about having a career, being dedicated, doing something consistently, and Pisces more about the arts, more about dreaming, more the spiritual. Really thankful for that. Yes, so that is also something I've noticed, that I'm turning this dreamy side of me and making it more tangible. I'm bringing it into reality. I bring a certain kind of consistency, even though I don't post videos on this and that day, but I consistently show up and I'm here I am, that's me talking and doing. Lastly, something I also want to go into is my house. So I know those of you who are watching most likely have their Saturn and Pisces. You're gonna have it in different houses, so it might not completely apply to you, but I still want to talk about it and how it relate to me, even if you don't have the same placement. I have my Saturn in the 4th house. I've read a lot that this is a more difficult placement, and I can see why, because it's about the home. And if you have such a strict planet in the area of your home and the area of your moon, 4th house is correlated to the moon, everything that's more mothery, nurturing, caring, then your childhood might not have been so cool. I experienced my childhood to be really strict. I couldn't argue a lot. What my parents said, that had to be done. So I didn't get my way very often. And this is mirroring back to me so much in my adult life. Even though my relationship with my parents has changed and has definitely gotten healthier, it is weird. It feels like I'm back to being a child. Now I have somebody around me who actually encourages me to decorate the home, to make this a place where I also feel at home. But it's also about communicating boundaries, which is really hard for me. So I can see this theme of home playing out a lot. Household chores, for example. Things you have to do in the household, a very Saturn-like theme. And I feel like the best approach there with Pisces is to just go with the flow and be like, okay, I'm not gonna have a routine. I'm not gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna clean the floor once or twice a week at the same weekday, but I'm just gonna trust in myself that I'm gonna keep it clean. Also, with my education right now, like I feel really glued to my home area, my home base, and there's just constant conflict going on between staying here, having my roots here, and venturing out into the world again, like I used to do, you know, being more international. If you are interested in the subject, I can really recommend this book here, The Little Book of Saturn by Lisa Einhorn. It's a quite small book, but it really gets to the point. It talks about Saturn in general, then about Saturn in the signs and in the houses. Gives you a really elaborate guide. So yeah, let me know what your experiences are. Like always, I'm really interested in that, and do reach out. I love people reaching out to me. Don't hesitate. I hope you have a really nice day or night as it is here. I hope your Saturn return is treating you okay so far. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. If you like the way I speak in these videos, you might resonate with my purpose readings. In these readings, I take a look at your big three and your lunar nodes, which are my favorite part to look at in a birth chart. This is not your typical astrological reading, because purpose is something that needs to be felt, feeling like you have a meaning in this life and a North Star that's pulling you forward. This is why I also take a look at some of the roadblocks that you might have, and then I give you prompts for self-reflection and inner work, so you can really embody your purpose and move forward with it. If you are interested in this type of reading, just leave me a message. My readings are always compassionate and hope-filled.